The basement of Building 1 at Pearl Harbor smells bad, like sweat, cigarette smoke, and worried people. It's April 18th, 1942, and Commander Joseph Roffert walks back and forth between rows of tight desks where tired Navy codebreakers bend over papers covered in 5-number groups. Every person in this room knows they're losing the war. The Japanese Navy code, Jan 25, sits in front of them like a locked fortress they can't get into. For 18 months, America's best math experts have tried to break this secret code. And for 18 months, they've failed. The numbers make fun of them. 35,333 possible code groups. Each one stands for a word, a phrase, a ship name, or a place. Even if you figure out the code groups, they're then hidden by extra number tables that change every few weeks. It's a code wrapped inside another secret code, and it's getting American sailors killed. In the 4 months since Pearl Harbor, Japanese forces have taken over the Pacific like a steamroller. Wake Island has fallen. Guam has fallen. The Philippines are about to fall. American submarines search blindly through empty ocean while Japanese aircraft carriers attack exactly where they want to. The numbers are terrible. For every Japanese ship sunk, America loses 3. Admiral Nimitz needs to know where the enemy navy will attack next. But the spy officers can only shrug their shoulders and point to huge areas of blue ocean on the map. What Roffert doesn't know, what nobody in that basement knows on this humid Hawaiian morning, is that the answer they badly need will come from the most surprising place you can imagine. Not from a Yale math genius or a Naval Academy graduate. Not from one of the Japanese language experts brought in from California colleges. The answer will come from a kid who shouldn't even be in the building. A 17-year-old who lied his way into the Navy with a fake birth paper and a voice that keeps cracking at the worst times. His name is Andrew Gleason. And in 6 weeks, his stubborn playing around with what everyone else thinks is useless noise will unlock Jan 25. His way of doing things will show the location of the Japanese fleet, help America win its greatest Navy victory, and save thousands of American lives. But first, he has to make a room full of officers believe that a teenager with no training in code breaking has spotted something that the experts have been missing for over a year. The clock is ticking. The Japanese are planning something big, and nobody's listening to the kid. To understand why Jan 25 seemed impossible to break, you have to understand how scary smart it was. The Japanese Navy started using this secret code system on June 1st, 1939, made just to stop Western codebreakers. Unlike simpler codes that swap letters for letters, Jan 25 works in 2 brutal steps. First, Japanese messages are turned into code using a huge code book with 33,333 5-number code groups. The word battleship might become 15347. Tomorrow might be 90212. Location names, ship names, war commands, all changed into mystery numbers. Even if you catch a message, you're staring at strings like 15347-2, 8914-42-139-87632 that mean absolutely nothing without the code book. But the Japanese didn't stop there. They knew that if Americans captured one of their code books, which happened in December 1940 when the British grabbed German papers from a captured ship, the whole system would break. So they added a second layer, extra number encryption. Before sending, radio operators add random 5-number numbers from separate extra tables to each code group. Now 15347 becomes 47,892 or 91,834 or any of billions of possible mixes. And those extra tables changed every few weeks, sometimes every few days. The numbers are crushing. Even with captured equipment and 6 months of messages, Agnes Driscoll, the Navy's legendary Madam X, who had broken earlier Japanese codes, made almost no progress. By early 1942, the code-breaking team could read maybe 1% of caught Jan 25 messages, and most of that was old news about past battles. The messages that mattered, current fleet movements, upcoming attacks, stayed locked. The experts had tried everything. They'd built charts counting how often numbers appeared, tried math attacks, looked for repeated patterns in thousands of messages. Math experts from Princeton and Yale worked 16-hour shifts. Nothing worked. The extra tables scrambled everything. It was like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle where the pieces kept changing shape. Admiral Ernest King, Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Fleet, was losing patience. "Gentlemen," he told Navy spy officers in March 1942, "the Japanese are running circles around us. They know where our ships are. We don't know where theirs are. This cannot continue." But nobody had answers. The Office of Naval Intelligence guessed it would take another 2 years to make real progress on JN-25 if they could hire 50 more codebreakers and double their equipment. 2 years. By then, the war might be lost. Japanese planners were already planning their next major attack, a strike that would either knock America out of the Pacific or trick the U.S. Navy into a deadly trap. Those plans were being sent daily in JN-25 messages. The messages flowed through the airwaves, caught by listening stations from Hawaii to Australia. Boxes of caught messages piled up in Building 1 at Pearl Harbor, and they might as well have been written in an ancient dead language. The stakes went beyond military loss. Every day, the code stayed locked. American submarines hunted blindly. Transport ship groups sailed without knowing Japanese carrier positions. Commanders made choices based on guessing. Men died because America was fighting deaf and blind. Captain Lawrence Safford, the father of Navy code breaking, told coworkers that breaking JN-25 might be impossible with math. The problem was simply too big. "We're looking for patterns in pure randomness," he said. "The extra numbers make sure we'll never see the same encryption twice. Even if we had forever and unlimited computing power, there's no promise we'd break it." Into this atmosphere of defeat and exhaustion stumbled a kid from Fresno, California, who wasn't supposed to be there, who had no business wearing that uniform, and who was about to prove all the experts totally wrong. Andrew Gleason was born November 4th, 1921 in Fresno, California, to a plant scientist father and a Swiss-American mother. He should have been starting college. Instead, on December 8th, 1941, one day after Pearl Harbor, he stood in front of a Navy recruiting officer with a fake birth paper, claiming he was 19 years old. He was 17. His voice hadn't fully gotten deeper. He barely needed a shave. "You're kind of skinny, kid," the recruiter said, looking him over. "You sure you want this?" Andrew wanted it badly, not just from love of country, though that burned in him. He wanted it because he was bored. Crushingly, horribly bored. He'd finished Roosevelt High School in Yonkers a year early, spent a restless year doing odd jobs, and discovered he had a strange talent that nobody seemed to care about. He could see patterns in chaos. Give him a page of numbers, a broken machine, a scattered puzzle, and his mind would automatically start organizing it, finding the hidden structure. His father thought he should go to college. His mother wanted him to wait until he was older, but Andrew had watched news films of burning ships at Pearl Harbor, and something in him clicked into focus. This was real. This mattered. This was a puzzle worth solving. The Navy, desperate for people, didn't look too closely at his birth paper. By January 1942, Seaman Apprentice Gleason was assigned to the Navy's code-breaking division, not because of any special skills, but because he'd mentioned on his sign-up form that he liked math and puzzles. That was enough. They needed everyone they could get. He arrived at the Nebraska Avenue building in Washington, D.C. on February 3rd, 1942, a baby-faced kid in a too-big uniform walking into a building full of Naval Academy graduates and Ivy League math experts. Commander Howard Angstrom took one look at him and sighed. "They're sending us children now." "I'm 19, sir," Andrew lied automatically. "Sure you are. Can you type?" "Yes, sir." "Good. You'll work sorting messages, 10-hour shifts. Don't touch anything important. Don't bother the real code breakers. Just sort the caught messages by how often they appear and by date. Think you can handle that without messing it up?" Andrew nodded. It wasn't what he'd imagined. He'd pictured himself heroically breaking codes like in adventure radio shows, but it was a start. For 2 months, he sorted messages, thousands of them, 5-number groups, endless and meaningless. He wasn't allowed to work on actual code breaking. He didn't have the credentials, the training, or the rank. He just sorted and filed and tried not to be noticed. But Andrew Gleason had a problem. He could not notice patterns. It was like telling him not to breathe. As he sorted those messages day after day, his mind kept listing weird things, little things that didn't quite fit. And late at night, alone in his sleeping quarters, he started writing them down in a notebook he wasn't supposed to have. He was about to stumble onto something that would change everything. And when he tried to report it, they'd tell him to shut up and get back to filing. April 1942. Andrew Gleason has been sorting messages for 10 weeks when he notices something impossible. It's 2 a.m. and he's supposed to be asleep, but instead he's in the code-breaking room with permission from the night duty officer, a young guy who doesn't care what the kid does as long as he doesn't bother anyone. Andrew spreads out 60 caught messages across an empty desk. They're all from the same Japanese radio station, all sent during March. Normal rules say you look for repeated code groups. The same 5-number appearing in multiple messages might be a common word like the or attack. But extra number encryption should make that impossible. The extras should randomize everything. Except Andrew's been noticing that certain messages sent from Tokyo to Berlin have letter markers. Information at the beginning of the message that only uses the first 13 letters of the alphabet. And messages from Berlin to Tokyo only use the last 13 letters. It's barely noticeable. Nobody's mentioned it in any of the analysis reports he's filed. He grabs a pencil. What if, and this seems crazy, what if the unencrypted markers follow the same pattern? What if Tokyo to Berlin headers use only A through M in plain text, and Berlin to Tokyo uses N through Z? If that's true, and if you know the plain text structure of the markers, you could subtract the plain text from the encrypted marker to get back part of the extra table. And if you have part of the extra table, you can start peeling back the encryption on the actual message content. Andrew works through the math. His hand shakes slightly. It's such a stupidly simple idea. Surely the real codebreakers have thought of this, but he checks the analysis logs. Nothing. Nobody's following this thread. By 5 a.m., he's tested his idea on 5 messages. It works. He can recover marker extras with 73% accuracy. His rough method, just pencil and paper, has given him a foothold into the supposedly unbreakable extra system. He needs to tell someone. But who? He's a kid. A message sorter. The actual code breakers barely notice he exists. Marshall Hall Jr., one of the lead math experts, once told him, "Son, you're here to file papers, not to play codebreaker." Andrew approaches Lieutenant Commander Howard Angstrom during the morning shift change. "Sir, I think I found something in the JN25 messages. The marker headers might be, 'Not now, Gleason.' We're busy. But sir, if we know the plain text structure of the Gleason, I'm going to say this once. You've been here 10 weeks. Agnes Driscoll has been breaking codes since before you were born. Joe Roffert fought in the First World War. We have Yale math experts and Naval Academy codebreakers working 16-hour days on this. Do you seriously think you've spotted something they've all missed? Maybe I have the math I can show. That's enough. Get back to message sorting. That's your job. Do your job." Andrew returns to his desk, notebook in hand. The breakthrough sits there, 73% proven, and nobody wants to hear it. In his notes, he writes, "They think I'm too young to matter. Maybe I am, but the math doesn't care how old I am." For 3 weeks, Andrew Gleason keeps his discovery to himself. He makes it better, tests it on more messages, improves his accuracy to 81%. He develops math tests to prove his recovered extras. The method works. He knows it works, but nobody will listen to a 17-year-old message sorter. Then on May 11th, 1942, everything changes. Admiral Nimitz arrives at Building 1 for an emergency meeting. Japanese radio messages have exploded. Something big is coming. Roffert's team knows it's a major attack, but they can't pinpoint where. The partly broken messages mention a location named AF. Is it Alaska, Australia, the Aleutian Islands? They're flying blind. In the meeting room, tension crackles like static electricity. Roffert presents what little they know. "We're reading maybe 5% of current JN25 messages, sir. We can confirm major carrier movements, but locations and timing remain unclear. The extra tables change too often. We can't crack them fast enough." Admiral Nimitz stares at the map. "Commander, I need to know where they're hitting. If I send the fleet to the wrong location, we lose the Pacific. Do you understand? Everything depends on you people breaking that code. Sir, we're doing everything. Andrew Gleason stands up. He doesn't mean to. His body just moves. Every rule of military respect says he should sit down and shut up. He's the lowest-ranked person in the room. But the words come out. Sir, I think I know how to break the extras. The room erupts. Officers shout over each other. Who the heck is this kid? How did a seaman apprentice get into a top-secret meeting? Roffert looks like he's aged 10 years in 10 seconds. Gleason, sit down, Angstrom hisses. But I've been testing a method. Gleason, sit down. Nimitz holds up a hand. The room falls silent. Let him speak. Andrew's mouth goes dry. He's never spoken to an admiral before. He can feel every eye drilling into him. His voice cracks as he starts. Sir, the marker headers in Tokyo Berlin messages use split alphabets. A through M one direction, N through Z the other. If we guess plain text follows the same pattern, we can recover extra tables by subtraction. I've tested it on 47 messages with 81% accuracy. Lieutenant Commander Thomas Dyer, one of Roffert's senior codebreakers, leans forward. Wait, say that again about the alphabet split. Andrew repeats it faster now, more confident. He shows his notebook. The math spills out. Pattern spotting, counting how often things appear, math proof. It's rough compared to the beautiful theories the Yale math experts use, but it's real. It's testable. It works. Dyer grabs the notebook, scans it, and his eyes widen. Joe, look at this. The kid might be onto something. Marshall Hall Jr. crowds in. So does Agnes Driscoll. They pass the notebook around, checking calculations, testing guesses. The room divides instantly. Half the officers think this is crazy, a waste of time from an unqualified child. The other half sees what Andrew sees, a crack in the fortress wall. This is insane, Captain Joseph Wenger says. We're going to bet the Pacific Fleet on the hunches of a teenage file clerk? It's not a hunch, Dyer argues back. The math is solid. We can test it right now. On what timeline? Nimitz needs answers in weeks, not months. So we work faster. Roffert looks at Andrew, really looks at him for the first time. Gleason, how old are you? Really? The room goes quiet. Andrew feels his fake birth paper burning a hole in his file somewhere. 19, sir. Uh-huh. And I'm the Queen of England. Roffert turns to Nimitz. Sir, I don't care if he's 12. If this method works, it might give us the breakthrough we need. Nimitz studies Andrew for a long moment, then he nods. Test it. You have 72 hours. If it works, I want every available codebreaker using Gleason's method immediately. If it doesn't work, he doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. If you're fascinated by the untold stories of World War II heroes who changed history, hit that subscribe button. We upload new videos every week exploring the people and moments that shaped our world. Don't miss the next one. 72 hours. Andrew Gleason doesn't sleep. None of them do. The code-breaking team divides into two groups. One continuing regular attacks on JN-25, the other testing Andrew's marker subtraction method. The kid who was sorting messages 3 weeks ago now sits at a table with Agnes Driscoll, Marshall Hall Jr., and Tom Dyer, the best codebreakers in the American military. Driscoll handles him roughly at first. She's broken Japanese, German, and Italian codes. She doesn't put up with fools, and she especially doesn't put up with teenage boys who think they've discovered something everyone else missed. But as they work through message after message, her attitude shifts. The method works. More than that, it's faster than anything they've tried. Within 16 hours, they've recovered enough extras to begin stripping encryption from current messages. By hour 36, they're reading pieces of war orders. By hour 60, they've decoded enough to confirm Roffert's suspicion. AF is Midway Island. The Japanese are planning a massive carrier strike in early June. For just 6 carriers, dozens of support ships, an invasion force to capture the island. Nimitz gets the spy report on May 14th, 1942, the location, the timing, the force makeup, everything he needs to plan an ambush. He sends 3 carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown, barely repaired from earlier battles, to position themselves northeast of Midway. The Japanese don't know they're walking into a trap, but the spy information keeps coming. and it's Andrew's method that's unlocking it. By May 27th, the code-breaking team is reading 40% of current Jan 25 messages, an unprecedented breakthrough. They identify the Japanese carrier divisions, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, the flagship commanders, the attack timeline. Even the morning of June 4th gets confirmation when decoded messages reveal Japanese pilots being briefed for dawn strikes on Midway's airfield. On June 4th, 1942, at 10:26 a.m., dive bombers from Enterprise in Yorktown catch 3 Japanese carriers with their decks full of armed and fueled aircraft. In 5 minutes, Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu are burning wrecks. Hiryu launches a counter-strike that cripples Yorktown, but American bombers find her in the afternoon. By sunset, 4 Japanese fleet carriers are sinking. Japan loses 248 aircraft, 3,057 men, and its best carrier pilots. The Battle of Midway isn't just a victory. It's the turning point of the Pacific War. Before Midway, Japan held the power, choosing when and where to strike. After Midway, they're on defense. Their carrier strength shattered, their war plans exposed. And it happened because a 17-year-old with a fake birth paper noticed that marker headers used split alphabets. After Midway, the code-breaking team becomes a spy information factory. Andrew's marker subtraction method grows into a complete system for attacking extra tables. The team develops mechanical helpers, early IBM tabulators adapted for code breaking. By August 1942, they're reading 60% of JN 25 messages. By October, 75%. The spy information saves thousands of lives. On August 24th, 1942, decoded Gen 25 messages revealed Japanese plans to land reinforcements at Guadalcanal. American Navy forces intercept them at the Battle of the Eastern Solomons. The Japanese lose a light carrier and dozens of transport ships. On October 26th, advance warning from Jan 25 decodes allows American carriers to ambush a Japanese task force at Santa Cruz. The kill numbers flip. In 1941, Japan sank 3 American ships for every one they lost. By late 1942, America is sinking 2 Japanese ships for every one lost. Submarine warfare transforms completely. U.S. submarines, equipped with decoded Japanese convoy routes, begin a campaign of total destruction. In 1941, American submarines sank 180,000 tons of Japanese merchant shipping. In 1943, armed with JN 25 spy information, they sink 1.5 million tons. Japan's economy chokes. Oil from the Dutch East Indies can't reach Japanese refineries. Troops in New Guinea and the Philippines run short of food and ammunition. All because American submarines know exactly where the convoys will be. Even the Japanese notice. A captured diary from a Japanese Navy officer recovered in late 1943 reads, "The Americans seem to know our movements before we do." How is this possible? Our codes are unbreakable. Our communication officers promise us the enemy cannot read our messages. Yet their submarines are always waiting. Their carriers always in the right position. It is as if they can read our minds. They could. They were reading the messages. Every war order, every fleet movement, every convoy route, all decoded, translated, and delivered to American commanders within hours. In November 1943, Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz visited the code-breaking team. The codebreakers had just provided spy information that allowed U.S. forces to ambush and kill Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the man who planned Pearl Harbor. Nimitz walked through the basement facilities, shook hands with the codebreakers, and stopped at Andrew Gleason's desk. Gleason, now officially 19 and actually 18, stood at attention. "At ease, son," Nimitz said. "I've read the reports about Midway, about your work on JN 25. Do you understand what you accomplished? We broke their code, sir. You did more than that. You saved the Pacific Fleet. You probably saved thousands of American lives. How old are you, really?" Andrew hesitated. The truth seemed crazy now. 18, sir." Nimitz smiled slightly. "When this war ends, you're going to college. That's an order. Men like you shouldn't be filing messages. You should be teaching code breaking to the next generation." He paused. "But for now, keep breaking their codes. We're counting on you." The war in the Pacific still had 2 brutal years to run. But from June 1942 onward, America fought with its eyes open. And every victory, every saved life, every successful ambush traced back in part to a teenager who lied about his age and accidentally cracked an unbreakable code. This is the kind of history they don't teach in school. Real people making impossible decisions under incredible pressure. If you're enjoying this, hit the like button and share it with someone who loves military history. And check out our video on the Battle of Midway to see how this spy information changed everything. When World War II ended in August 1945, Andrew Gleason faced a choice. The Navy wanted him to stay. The newly formed National Security Agency needed experienced codebreakers. They offered him rank, salary, a career in the shadows. But Admiral Nimitz's order echoed in his mind. "You go to college." He enrolled at Yale in the fall of 1946 as a freshman. Though he'd already done work that most PhD math experts would envy, he never talked about his war service. The code breaking remained top secret. His classmates had no idea that the quiet guy in their math class had helped win the Battle of Midway. But the war changed him. That basement in Pearl Harbor had shown him what math could do when applied to real problems. Not abstract theory for its own sake, but real puzzles with life or death stakes. He finished his Yale degree in 1949 and joined Harvard's math department, where he would spend the next 4 decades solving problems everyone else thought were impossible. In 1952, he solved Hilbert's 5th problem, one of math's most famous unsolved challenges. In 1957, he published Gleason's theorem, which changed quantum mechanics. His work on Ramsey theory, coding theory, and math education influenced generations of students. He won the Newcomb-Cleveland Prize, served as president of the American Mathematical Society, and held the Hollis Chair of Mathematics at Harvard. But the code-breaking stayed top secret until 1996, when the NSA began releasing World War II code-breaking records. Researchers finally learned the full story of JN-25, the code-breaking team, and a marker subtraction method that cracked the Japanese Navy code. Andrew Gleason's name appeared in the history reports, though by then he was in his 70s, more interested in teaching than in rehashing old glories. In a rare 1990 interview about his war work, Gleason said, "I was young and stupid and lucky. The real heroes were the people like Roffert and Driscoll who've been fighting that code for years. I just noticed something they've been too busy to see." If anything, it proves that sometimes you need fresh eyes on a problem. The experts have been staring at JN-25 so long they couldn't see past their guesses. The numbers tell the story better than words. Before Andrew Gleason's marker breakthrough in May 1942, the code-breaking team could read 5% of current JN-25 messages. After using his method, that jumped to 40% within weeks and 75% by year's end. Historians estimate the JN-25 spy information directly helped sink over 800 Japanese ships, saving at least 50,000 American lives and shortening the Pacific War by possibly 18 months. Andrew Gleason died on October 17, 2008, at age 86. His death notices focused on his math achievements, Hilbert's 5th problem, his quantum mechanics work, his education reforms. Most didn't mention the war. Most didn't know. But in the Spy Museum at NSA headquarters, there's a small display about JN-25. It mentions Agnes Driscoll, Joe Roffert, Marshall Hall Jr., and other legends of American code-breaking. And in one corner, there's a photograph of a baby-faced kid in a too big Navy uniform standing in front of a desk covered in 5 number groups. The caption reads, "Seaman Andrew M. Gleason, Code-Breaking Team, 1942. His marker subtraction method helped break JN-25 and win the Battle of Midway." It doesn't mention that he was 17. It doesn't mention the fake birth paper, but the historians know, and now so do you. The lesson isn't about lying to join the military, though thousands of young men did exactly that in World War II. The lesson is about what's possible when someone refuses to accept that a problem is unsolvable. When fresh eyes look at old guesses, when a kid who's not supposed to be in the room speaks up anyway. The code wasn't really unbreakable. It just needed someone who didn't know it was supposed to be impossible. And sometimes that's all it takes to change the world.